This episode is all about discovering and getting to know a little more about men and how they approach and handle women and relationships. And I'm so excited for everybody that's joining us because we have an awesome gentleman who wrote a book called The Cherry on Top, Chocolate or Vanilla, He's Still a Man. And so I want everybody to welcome Onyx Linthicum. So welcome, Onyx.
Hey, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you?
I am awesomer.
I love it. Well, I am so excited that you have joined us tonight because this is such a big topic that I hear with my girlfriends, my clients about, being single, right? And not being able to find the right man or finding the right connection, right? They're throwing the towel in and saying there is no good man out there. And we know that's wrong, right?
No, there's a lot of great men out there, but good is not good to say. There are great men out there.
I love it.
Just gotta find one.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of great men out there. Yes, it's a big whole sea of great men, and you just have to find them. And so hopefully hearing a little bit about this book that you wrote, we are going to be educated and empowered as women or partners, right? To be able to connect a little deeper and to kind of understand the male species a little bit. So I was looking at your first chapter, and it says, he knows you will call. So tell us about that.
He Knows You'll Call is a chapter, basically as it says, and I don't want to read the book, but I kind of sum it up in the first sentence. So after, if you don't mind, I'll just zip right through it real quick.
Yeah.
And it says simply, after he put in work and left you tongue tied and sucking on your thumb, guess what? He knows you'll call again. In other words, he put it down so good that he knows you're thinking about him. And he knows that eventually, even though you said, I don't want to do this anymore, you go your way, I go my way, he knows that eventually you're going to get an itch and you're going to want him to scratch it. And he knows you'll call.
So he's already played this thing where he knows he's left this an impression on her, right?
Absolutely.
And is this something that all men do, that they know if they come in contact with a woman, they're going to leave this impression that's going to keep us begging for more? Is it the ego? What is this?
It's a combination. It's a combination of ego. It's a combination of cockiness, arrogance, some arrogance in there. It's a combination of all things. Nobody would admit it, but honestly, I mean, I think women have a certain sense of it too, because they know what they're capable of. I think everybody pretty much knows what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it's manipulation. I mean, if you want to be honest about it, it's actually manipulation. The problem comes in when you don't call.
Right.
That's when his ego is shot down.
So he plays this game, he dangles the carrot, right? And feels like, you're going to want more, so you're going to call. So, because on our end as a woman, when you're out at the club and you meet a gentleman and he's flirting with you and you feel like you have a little bit of this connection, we're told on our end, do not call him or you're going to look like a stalker. Do not call, do not text, wait for him to contact you.
For that very reason, a lot of lonely women.
Okay.
Honestly, I mean, that is an attitude that was, that's some rhetoric, I guess you can say, from the 60s, the 50s, way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays women are much more confident in themselves. They are much more aggressive. They go after what it is they want. It's no holds barred nowadays. And for any woman to feel like she can't approach a guy it's preposterous.
Mm-hmm.
I think most men contrary to popular belief, I think a lot of men, I won't say most, I'll say a lot of men actually appreciate a woman approaching them. And it's not because they're shy or whatever. It's just because we're so used to doing things ourselves that it's kind of refreshing when a woman makes the move. And it's not to say come up to him and say, hey, take my number. I want you to call me. I want you to text me down. I want you to do this, that, and the other. It's just, when a woman approaches and you get that sense that she's interested, now we don't have to be the one to demonstrate our interest. And it doesn't emasculate a man because he doesn't approach and she does, anything like that. It's just refreshing when the script is flipped.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, a woman who approaches a man doesn't have to approach him hungry, if you know what I mean.
Right.
But she can approach him with confidence, and, a strong man is going to appreciate it. A weak man is going to feel like he should have made the first move. So she probably wants to walk away from him anyway.
Right. Yeah, because that's definitely not an equal for her. And, it's so true because when women go out, right, let's be honest, we get dolled up and we want heads looking at us. We want eyes looking at us, right? We want to walk in and have those heads turn. It's just normal. I think probably men, the same thing, right? And so I like the fact that you're saying, listen, if women are really confident and women want something, take the risk, take the chance on connecting with that man, right? Because chances are he's going to like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's a chance she takes, but I don't think it's a chance she should be afraid to take.
Yeah, I like that. So your chapter number 2 had said he waits for 2 reasons. So what is he waiting for? He's waiting to call her?
No, chapter 2 is he waits for 2 reasons is basically talking about he either really, really likes you or he just wants the sex.
Oh, I gotcha.
I know a counterpart, I won't say any names, gave women that 90-day rule. But that 90-day rule really doesn't mean a lot because I know a lot of women who have waited until they got married to have sex. And guess what? It didn't work.
Right.
He got what he wanted, and, crazy as it sounds, he waited to even marry her, to go as far as marrying her, to be able to say, I got another notch in my belt. So that 90-day rule really doesn't mean anything. I mean, you're grown. If you're grown, you're 2 consensual adults. If you want to do it, do it. Waiting 90 days or 90 years, if that were possible.
Yeah.
Really isn't going to make a difference. So if he really likes you, really cares about you and wants to be with you, whether you give it to him the first day or whether you wait until after marriage and beyond, he's not going anywhere.
How do you feel? How does the guy feel when you are out and you're hanging at the club or maybe you're on your first date? I've heard all kinds of things. Sometimes there's a lot of guys that expect it on the first date. I mean, I've had girlfriends that have gone on blind dates and, they've liked the guy. They're talking. And, of course, they're trying to flirt because they're looking for a soulmate. And maybe they don't know how to go about that connection. But I'll tell you, I mean, tongues are shoved down their throat like the very first date, right? And it blows me away. Yeah, they're rubbing on their booties. And it blows me away that the guy is already like on them to try to get it the first date. And to me, I guess, on my own as a woman is I feel like that can be such a sign of he's not willing to get to know you, right? He's looking for that quick fix because maybe that's what he's used to, right? And he's not going to give you that opportunity for that deep soul connection.
Well, I will say this. Yes, that is a sign that he's a very passionate person, that he's a very sexual person, and he's certainly interested in her in that way.
Yep.
However, it's up to her to set him straight and say, look, you can either stop that right now or we're going no further tonight. We're going no further, period. Now if he's, you can tell by how he responds to that. If he's going to be respectful of it and say, whoa, hey, I'm sorry, and he might even talk about it. It's just kind of what I'm used to, or, he may get an attitude. He may, oh, you know what, you pay the tab. I'm out.
Yeah.
So it can go one or two ways, but I mean, either way, she's either going to get the respect that she deserves, and that she's asking for, or she's going to get a quick answer to whether he's the one or not.
Mm-hmm. And now let's reverse this a little bit, because I also know women that will go out on the hunt to find them a man for a one night stand, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel as guys when you have those type of really aggressive women, right? I mean, they're trying everything in their power to get you to take them home. Tell us about that. How do you receive that?
It's really no different. It's really no different because, I mean, if she's that way, it's the same. It's the same situation in reverse.
Mm-hmm.
So he's either got to set her straight and say, hey, whoa, pull back,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, if he's down with it, then he's going to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I mean, it's a red flag because you're thinking, okay, if she's doing this to me, did she do that to him and him and him?
Oh,
and if it's a social media hookup, how many people on social media have you hooked up with?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So there are definitely some questions that should go on in both his and her head, depending on which way the tables are turned.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it boils down to being two consensual adults. And, at the end of the day, we're responsible for whatever action we take.
Mm-hmm.
We do it. We have no reason to get an attitude, to get upset, and this, that, and the other. If we choose not to do it, then the other person has no reason to feel any kind of way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and I like that because it's all about your own personal boundaries. And so that's really what it is whether you're a man or a woman, it's setting boundaries for your own morals, for your own self. Are you looking for a quickie, or are you looking for something long-term? Because you're right. If you ask yourself those questions, and I mean, chances are, if it's somebody who you just met and, 2 hours later, they're ready to go home with you, I like the idea of the questions as how many other, people on these dates have they done this to, right? Because it's probably a pattern, and that's probably a sign for you to run if you're looking for a soulmate, unless you're just there for a good time.
Yeah, but you know what? And you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But I ask myself these days, how many people are really looking for a soulmate? In all honesty, people say they are, but do you really know what a soulmate is?
Yeah.
That's my question to them. Who is a soulmate? If you ask a person, who is a soulmate?
Yeah.
You'll probably get 1,000,001 different answers.
Yeah.
And that's cool because that's what that means to that particular individual.
Right.
If you're 50 and you still haven't found your soulmate, not to say you won't, but are you, what are you looking for? I mean, I think people need to really understand what it is they're waiting for these days and what it is what they're looking for.
Right.
Because there's so many people not even enjoying life because they're running through life trying to find a soulmate instead of enjoying life day by day by day and just, taking things as they come.
Right.
Being cautious, of course, but just enjoying life.
Yeah. Being in the present moment. And I think that's the thing those are great questions is what is a soulmate? What does that mean to somebody? And I think people have felt like love gave up on them. I feel they've been so frustrated. We have so many single men and women now than ever, with relationships being destroyed and people are parting ways so easily, because I think people don't understand what it really means is to have a heart-to-heart connection, a soul connection with somebody. It's about finding somebody who has the similar interests that you do. If you like eating healthy, it's finding somebody that shares that same passion, eating healthy or cooking together, somebody that likes going to baseball games, somebody that likes, going for long drives or long, walks on the beach. And in order to find those people, I feel, Onyx, it's similar to building relationships with friends. I call it leapfrog. You are going to leapfrog and jump over many relationships where they are quick, like they come into your life for a reason and they last for a season. We don't know how long they're going to be there. When they no longer match our personal needs, they're gone. And so it's kind of like, how many people are you willing to introduce yourself to, experience or allow yourself to get to know them before you can kind of have that conclusion on what is the soulmate that I want.
And and you're absolutely right. Finding people with commonalities or common interests is great. But here's the thing: most of the time, you're not going to find somebody who has the exact same interests as yourself. And so, what it boils down to is, okay, you like to play golf. I can't stand playing golf. Yeah, I might go with you out on the course every once in a while, but respect the fact that I'm not a golf player and that I would rather be home in my garage working on a project. So it's like you have to understand and respect one another for who they are and what they enjoy and those kinds of things, and not just try to find someone who. I think a lot of times people try to find someone who's identical to them,
right,
which is a big no-no because you know that you have flaws. And if you come in contact with somebody who has those same flaws, you're going to have the same problem with them that other people have with you. So you got to be careful what you ask for.
Right, right. Well, and they always say opposites attract, right? And
right, exactly.
And I think a lot of those relationships fail as well because you just said it. It's allowing the other person to be their unique individual self. If you love messing around fixing cars and that's your thing, I'm in the garage for 3-4 hours and I like going shopping or doing whatever, and that's something you can't stand. It's about letting each other be their individual self, right? It's about loving that person.
There's a fix for that shopping thing. I just want to let you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tell me.
I'm going to save that for the end of the show. Just remind me and I'll tell you.
Okay. I'm going to write it down, the shopping thing.
Your man doesn't want to go shopping with you.
Yes. We're going to find out why the man doesn't want to go shopping with us. Okay. You're going to do that at the end. I love it. But that's what I'm saying is I found, so I'm going to be 47 and I met my husband in high school when we were 15 and he's the only man I've ever been with. He is my best friend. He's completely opposite from me. I'm Italian. I'm vivacious. I'm loud. Completely opposite. He likes to just watch people and he will say something if he needs to say it, but he's not the one to go in the room and light it up, right? That's not who he is. Right. For me, you can't stop me from talking, right? Right? You can't. But I'll tell you that that's how our marriage and relationship, we've been together for 29 years and it's been solid because I understand as the spouse that he's not looking for a mom. He's not looking for me to nag him. He's not looking for me to like boss him around and yell at him. So in my house, we have a rule. We don't waste time fighting. Those are two egos butting heads trying to be the winner. And, we don't need to be a winner. I want to be a winner in the bedroom. I want to enjoy the good stuff together, right? And so I found, for me, I'm very traditional. He comes home every night from work and he has a hot meal on the table. I show him and serve him an appreciation in everything he does. And I remind him, what a great dad he is, what a great husband. And the same thing, because I know as a woman, if I stroke that ego and I remind him that I'm going to get rewarded, right? So I'm very smart about that because I know what I want.
Melissa, are you cooking these meals or is this Boston Market?
This is, if you go to my Facebook page, I home cook everything. I home cook everything. I do everything. And I do because we pray together. We're a family that prays together. You come sit at our table and you break bread with us and we pray together. And it's
there's a chapter in the book that talks about that too. We're going to get to that.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. So for me, I know in order for opposites to attract, it's really about understanding, like you said, is allowing each other their space to be individual. And then just coming together as partners and holding value to that instead of destroying it. And it can very easily be destroyed. Like I said, I tell women all the time, he doesn't want you to be his mom. He wants you hot in the bedroom. This is, the concept is he wants to be able to enjoy all the different areas of the relationship and not be your child. He's not looking for that. So, all right. So you have another chapter, right, in your book that we're on number 3, right, which is you'll never change his mind. Tell me about that.
You'll never change his mind is it was written, I guess, with a focus on the marital situation, forcing him into marriage. but I guess it can pretty much be applied to anything relationship based, because a man is men are stubborn when it comes to their thoughts and their ways. I'll say it that way. But when it comes to their ways, we pretty much are set in our ways. We were raised a certain way. We were taught to be a certain way, and most of us, kind of transition into that as we get older. He'll never change his mind. It's just that. I don't care what you do. I don't care how much manipulation you try. You're not going to change his mind. He is going to be who he is, and actually trying to drive him in a certain direction is ultimately driving him away. So you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, because that's a lot of pressure.
Women will get advice from their girlfriends and tell them, give them an ultimatum, and this, that, and the other. Yeah, I've seen some ultimatums backfire.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing. If you do change his mind, are you really changing his mind permanently? Or is he just doing that to appease you? And if he's just doing it to appease you, to keep you around, guess what? If he wasn't ready, there's a lot of divorces out there because people really weren't ready. They wanted to hold on to what they had, but they realized later that what they had maybe isn't what they really wanted or needed. So, just be careful with that. You're not going to change his mind. It takes time for him to get comfortable in the situation enough to where he wants to, to move forward in any area, not just marriage, but, even progressing in the relationship itself. So just take some time. Now, the next question is, how long should I wait? That's normally the next question that comes. How long do you expect me to wait? We've been dating for 5 years. Okay, well, are you comfortable enough to wait another 5? If you have your own timeline by which you want to achieve a certain goal or a certain level in life, whether it's marriage or kids or a new job or whatever, this should be no different. Don't let the man string you along. If you know you want to be married in the next 3 years, you guys need to be having a conversation. And you need to be doing what I like to call a temperature check. Where are we right now? What are we doing? If he can't give you a straight answer, and I'm guilty of this. A lot of this stuff I'm guilty of. And that's why, it's coming from a first-hand basis. Yeah. Okay, I didn't go out and interview a million people to write what I wrote. A lot of this stuff is from my own personal experience. But like I said, I call that a temperature check. So you need to be doing those pretty regularly. And if he can't give you an answer, if he can't give you a direct answer to where you guys are at any given point in that relationship, if that thermometer isn't, is getting colder and not moving in the direction you want it to move, then it might be time for you to back out of that.
I think a lot of people get stuck in that because I know a lot of girlfriends that, they've dated for a long time. It's like, oh, we've dated for like 20 years and they're still not married. And, it's almost as if they're either afraid to leave, right? Or they're just not willing to embrace, like, this is what our relationship is just going to be. Like, they have to be able to make that decision. I know I personally waited 10 years to get engaged with my husband, but we were young and then he was in college. And I know for him it was, the pressure of I guess any man is I want to be able to have a good job. I want to be able to provide, right? I want to be able to, be really ready to make this commitment. And, it is hard for us to wait, to be honest, because I think we feel like if you put a ring on the finger, right, this goes to feeling like, okay, then I'm just theirs. And this is probably later in the book. And then, they're just going to be faithful or I'm the only person, right? So there's probably a lot of dysfunction to that pressure that we do put on the male to get married.
Just like, here's the thing with the ring. Just like you put that ring on, you can take that ring off. That ring is not a concrete, that ring is not welded to your bones. You know what I mean? It can come off just as easy as it went on. And I think people think that, the ring means lockdown. But guess what? There are just as many women and men, let me be correct, in saying that there are just as many women as well as men running around with wedding rings on their hands who aren't living a married lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They are, there is infidelity. There is, I can't stand my husband. And my question is, why are you with him?
Yes.
No, you're still with him. I've known you for 5 years, and since I've known you, you've been telling me you didn't love your husband, and you never loved him, and this, that, and the other. And your kids are grown now, so why are you still there?
Mm-hmm.
And so that kind of segues me into the fact that you were saying, we don't understand why people stay. People stay because they get comfortable, they get complacent, they get, it's a financial situation. It's, it is whatever it is. It could be. Look, just because I don't love you doesn't mean the sex isn't good.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I mean, you can be hating the person you're with, but the sex is the bond.
Mm-hmm.
And people stay because they don't want to be alone. They don't think they're going to find anything better than what they already have, even though they don't like where they are. So there are a number of reasons, but it boils down to that individual being able to clearly identify where they are in their life right now,
mm-hmm.
and identifying where they want to be, and then setting themselves on a path to get there. If that means leaving home because things are not good there, I'm not one for bringing division in anybody's household, but would you rather spend the next 40 years of your life miserable, or would you rather just go ahead and finally launch out into the deep and say, you know what, come what may, I'm going to choose happiness?
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, and you said some key points too, because I hear women all the time, if we're going out and we're having ladies' night, we're talking about, intimacy with our partner. I am so shocked when it comes out of women's mouth if we start talking about something and the first thing they say about their husband is, ew. Oh my God, he's so disgusting. Ew. And, that's hard for me only because I don't have a marriage like that. Like, I'm like, yeah, I'm leaving. I'm going home because we're going to get it on. So mine is different. So when I hear that come from other partners or women, I can't really process that. Just they're so either unhappy with themselves, their own body, right? Like they can't get into that part of the relationship, or it's just done with and they're stuck there and they need to make a decision.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation. It makes you wonder.
Mm-hmm.
Were things this bad before you got married and you just didn't acknowledge it,
mm-hmm.
or did they honestly get this way? Did you see this coming and you just kind of turned a side eye to it because again you didn't want to be by yourself? The longer you spend in a situation, the worse it's going to be because you have family
mm-hmm.
that's involved. Now everybody in the family knows him. He's a part of the family now, even though nobody really likes him.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just the longer you stay in it, the greater the dynamic becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And don't throw kids in the mix. And then a mortgage together,
mm-hmm.
and a business together, and all of these different things.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be real careful who you're going in a relationship with,
mm-hmm.
whether it's business, personal, or other. You got to be real careful. And you're not going to have all the answers up front.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there are some signs on the wall that if you pay attention to them, sometimes if people would pay attention to the signs on the wall,
mm-hmm.
they would avoid a lot of what they find themselves going through.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's like pay attention, know your boundaries, and allow yourself to be vulnerable so that right, that you're connecting with somebody, and that it goes back down to what we talked about, which is people trying to change other people. I mean, it's just a consistent. If you have this ideal person in your head, it's probably make believe, right? And you're putting on those laws and rules on that person. It's a lot of pressure for somebody to be somebody different than they really are, and it becomes very destructive. So, all right. So number 4, you have listen. He's telling the truth.
Yeah. This particular chapter talks about. I like to use the example. I'll use the example in a minute. This chapter talks about how women often hear the truth, but they don't believe it, or they just dismiss it. And my example is she'll ask him, "Are you cheating on me?" He'll say, "Yeah, I'm cheating on you," and he makes you tell him the truth. And she'll dismiss it. She'll say, "Oh yeah, okay, right. Yeah, you better not be."
Right, right,
When she finds out he's really cheating on her, and I can't believe you were doing that to me. And he looked at her and said, well, I told you.
right.
You didn't believe me. But, I mean, that's pretty far-fetched. But
Yeah.
honestly, if you listen to a man, he'll tell you who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You don't have to go too long before he, pretty much reveals who he really is. I mean, he's either genuine or he's not. You'll find out. No tell signs of it. Yeah.
Well, and that goes to communication too. I mean, communication between two people, right? It's what he said, what she thought he said, and what she really heard, right?
Exactly. Exactly. But people don't want to hear the truth. So what they do oftentimes is they just kind of dismiss it. And a lot of times it's the truth, but again, you're just dismissing it because you don't want to believe that that's the reality. And it's dangerous because your feelings get involved and the whole nine, and
Yeah, and it is. It causes a lot of pain, and that keeps bringing us right back to again why there's so many single people. I mean, it's the pain. It's the continuous that people just don't want to deal with it. All right, number 5, the big no-no rule. What is the big no-no rule that we have to know about?
The big no-no rule. Well, I can't use you as an example, but the no-no rule is a rule that applies to women dating someone that their girlfriend dated.
Okay.
Most women are going to tell you that they would not date someone their girlfriend has dated. Now I know there's some exceptions to the rule. There's some women out there now, who are probably, thinking that's not true. That's not true at all. If she's done with him, I'm going to be with him. If I want to be with him, I'm going to be with him. That's not true because you don't want to jeopardize your girlfriend's relationship. You don't want to jeopardize the relationship you have with your girlfriend. So you're not going to date her man, or her former man. And my thing is, okay, and this goes back to even high school. You're 40 years old, right? Or 35, however old, 20 years since high school. And you come across someone that your girlfriend used to date in high school. And they were an item. But hey, 30 years later, she's married, he's still single. You guys meet at a restaurant or something, and there are fireworks, right? And now you can't date him because she dated him in high school? It's really? Is there a moratorium on that rule or something? I don't understand it. But the bottom line is that is the big no-no rule. Most women will tell you don't do something. That is a boundary you don't cross. And I don't understand it. I really don't. Because are you blocking somebody else's blessing by forbidding them to date someone just because that you dated that things didn't work out with? Just because you guys didn't vibe doesn't mean they won't.
Right.
And 20 years later, it's crazy, but women will tell you that is a big no-no.
Yeah. I think if, because I run to a lot of people as we age and we go through high school reunions, it's funny how many people hook up at the high school reunions. Maybe they were like past loves. Like I know a couple that they dated in high school. They had married other people, had kids with other people. It didn't work out. And all of a sudden they remarry. And you're like, oh my God, I remember them in high school. They were so in love. But for whatever reason, it didn't work until they became older, more mature, and they really discovered themselves and understood what they wanted. So, I know a lady who's 70, same thing. She reconnected with somebody she went to high school with, and they're dating and living together. So it can be a beautiful thing. So I guess, my thoughts are for anyone listening that has that big no-no rule. Come on.
Yeah.
Right? We're all adults. And just because it didn't work between you and him doesn't mean that it can't be something really beautiful for somebody else. And so I think that rule should be totally ditched out. Unless it was just like,
I'm going to write to Richmond and have that rule banned.
Yeah. Yeah, whoever came up with that rule should be boxed away. It's done.
But there is an exception to that rule. It's my exception. Someone else may not make this exception, but I do. And the exception is marrying a friend's ex-wife or dating a friend's ex-wife or something like that. Now that's kind of pushing it because you got to think about it. You guys have done cookouts and stuff together. You've traveled. Your kids have grown up together. All these kinds of things. There is a slight boundary now. In death, maybe. Because you're close enough. You know that person well enough that hey, if something pops off, after the person's in the ground and they're cold, then because some people in the ground their body ain't turned cold yet and.
They're already dating them, yeah. They're already engaged. Right.
Give it time for rigor mortis to set in.
Right.
And then,
Right.
To go for it. But
right.
Yeah, that's my rule.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that is a really could be a touchy subject. I mean, I know that I come across a lot of different clients that they are widowed and they meet somebody right away, and it's usually from their friend circle. Maybe the other person has been widowed as well. Maybe they're divorced. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of like, you're taking a chance on love anyways. And again, we're all adults. And as long as it wasn't something happening behind the scenes beforehand, I don't know. Sometimes you just can't stop that, and as we continue to age, it's kind of like, for me, why not? I mean, because you don't know. I mean, you don't know. Maybe the other person is in your life for a reason, right? And
that's when your husband died. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Don't agree to that.
Yes. Yeah. So that's a good one. So okay, number 6, you have I'll never tell how I found out. Here's the rope.
Yep. And what that chapter talks about is a lot of times we already know the answer. We're just waiting on you to tell us. And by the time I ask you, I already know the answer. So I'm giving you the rope. You can do one or two things. You can either tell me the truth and let's work it out and deal with it, or you can put the rope around your neck, lie to me, and hang yourself. Because 9 times out of 10, I already know the answer. And so if you lie to me, I already know you lied to me, so I'm already packing my things and walking out.
So what would be a big lie? What would be a big lie?
That it never happened, or you didn't do this, or you didn't say this, or whatever. Whatever, depending on the severity of the situation.
Right.
But yeah, that's what that chapter talks about. A lot of times, people already have the answer. They're just waiting on you to tell them, so that you can either deal with it or really tell them who you are.
Well, what's a big lie? What do you think is like a really big lie that you're ready to be done?
Infidelity is always the big one. Did you cheat on me? Everybody wants to know, did you cheat on me? Nobody asked, did you go in my wallet and steal $20? That's never a question. That's nothing.
Yeah.
The big questions are always related to cheating.
Yep, eyes wandering, right?
Yeah. Were you looking at her? No, baby, I wasn't looking at her. I was looking over there. That's, nice scenery right there,
Right. Yeah.
But, but no, that's typically the biggest one. But again, these rules, the things that I'm writing about in the book, you can apply these things to so many different areas. Just because I'm writing specific or being specific to a certain area doesn't mean it is. I mean, these are nuggets you can apply to just about anything.
Yeah, no, totally.
Doing the work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, doing the work, having some boundaries. All right, so number 7 is no question is off limits.
Nope, no question is off limits. Ask the questions. Ask the questions. The more you ask, this all boils down to communication. People want to say, you don't ask certain questions. Yes, you do. You ask those questions because you need to know. Certain questions you may or may not want to ask. When you're on a date, for instance, maybe say the first date, certain things you may not want to get into. People say you do, they say you don't. I think it's a matter of opinion. But you have your icebreaker questions where, you get into, what do you do? How's your job? What do you like? Those types of questions. But those aren't really the kind of questions I want to ask. I want to get into your personal business. I want to dig deep. What you do every day for a living is cool. But that's really not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about who you are. I want to find out the depth of you. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm digging deep. And a lot of the questions I would ask, some people wouldn't ask.
Right.
Now, you don't want to go into this. You don't want to go into the first day talking about sex. We already talked about that. That kind of shows, does that really tell me where your mind is?
Right.
Or does it just tell me you're interviewing me for, a rendezvous at some point, and want to know what I'm into?
Yeah.
But be honest. Lay your questions on the table. Don't pull out a script or a checklist. Don't do that. You want your questions to flow naturally and flow into one another. You want to keep a good conversation going, but that part of that involves asking questions and really getting to know the person. And that's pretty much what that chapter is all about. Don't shy away from certain questions. Be honest about what it is you want to know.
Well, how do you dodge? Because during that time, a lot of men and women probably get continuous comments. You're like, "Oh, you're so hot," like, "Oh man, that's just consistent. You look so good," and it can get really uncomfortable, right? Because it's like, okay, the first time, thanks for the compliment, but sometimes it gets over bearing for a lot of people during those conversations. And so what kind of advice do you have for, I guess, both men and women on that? Because it goes both ways. But it is consistent. When you're on a date, you're going to find those people that are constantly making those comments. And like I said, one compliment's fine, but after a while, it's a lot, right? It gets to be a little too much.
Well, that's where those questions come in. If all you can do is, and I'm going to speak from my perspective, if all I can do at the dinner table, for instance, is tell her how amazed I am and how beautiful she is and how, and those kinds of things, that's the other person should be really thinking, this person is pretty shallow. They aren't asking me questions. They're not really trying to get to know me. I'm a serial killer and I'm crazy. And they really don't care about all of that. They just want to be able to look at me. So when I get them home and I tie them up and tie their eyelids open and they can look at me, then that's what they'll be happy with.
Yeah. This is getting into like 50 Shades of Grey. This is Onyx. Did you read that book?
That was kind of creepy. But I am a story writer too. I'll talk about that later. But no, really. If that's all you see in a person, then that the other person needs to be asking, okay, something's wrong here.
Right.
They don't want to know me for me. They want to know me because they want a trophy on their arm. Is that what it is?
Right. No, I got it. That's good. So what's too soon?
What's too soon? Too soon to call, too soon to go out, too soon to be serious. All of those kinds of things. It depends on what you're actually referring to.
Right.
It boils down to your personal. It goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You're both grown. You're both consenting adults. Let me ask you this. When you can't answer this question, I can't ask you that, Gordon.
Well, pretend. Let me try.
Okay. Act like you haven't dated your husband all your life.
Okay.
So a guy gives you his phone number at the club, right? Hey, give you my number. Maybe give me a call. And some people would say, okay, that is not right for a guy to give a girl his number and expect her to call. That's BS. Maybe she's not comfortable giving him her number.
Right.
So here's my number. I'd like for you to call me. Okay. How long should it take a woman to call that if she's interested in it, right? I'm not talking about the game plan. People say, oh, no, you don't call them right away. You want to give them some time before you call. Otherwise, you're going to seem pressed and this, that, and the other. Come on now, stop playing games.
Right.
You want that man as bad as he wants you. How long should it take you to call?
Okay, so if it was me, and now I'm pretending, right? But honestly, in my heart, if I met somebody and I was attracted to him and I thought I wanted to get to know him, I would either text him later that evening or the next morning and just say, hey, it was super nice meeting you. I hope we can connect. But that's just me, right? Because I'm the type of girl to go after what I want. But I think, like you said, if you let too much time go by, he's going to be like, oh, she's not interested in me.
That, or he won't know who you are when you call.
Right.
What if he gave the number to a couple of different people at the club that night?
Right.
He's well within his right to do so.
Exactly.
And whichever one calls and he spends time with and falls in love with, that's the winner.
Yeah, it's like speed dating. I'm giving out my number on a little ticket to all the ladies. I'm going to see who calls. I like that. I'm going to see who texts me or calls.
Yeah, I mean, you wait too long, he may not even know who you are.
Right.
You'll spend the first 15 minutes explaining to him who you are, how you met, what you look like. Okay, can you send me a picture? And what happens when somebody calls you and you don't remember them?
Right.
You look like you do, and you're trying to figure this thing out, and they say, you know what? I haven't seen you in forever. I know exactly who I'm talking about. Girl, send me a picture, because I want to see what you look like now.
Right, just to make sure I didn't have my beer goggles on. Right, yeah.
If she's not smart enough, she'll do it.
Right.
But if she's smart, she'll realize, this joker doesn't even know who he's talking
to.
He wants me to send him a refresher.
Right, exactly, right. Well, and I'm sure a lot of women fall for that trap because they don't know, because again, it's these goofy rules that have been set up in these boundaries, and it really is, these boundaries aren't for everybody here. I mean, everybody should be able to be adults and make their own boundaries. And if you find somebody that you really think is attractive and you really had a great conversation, what's the harm of sending a text message and say, hey, it was really great meeting you, and see where it goes from there. If it goes nowhere, then But again, you're in control. You can block them on your phone. So I like that. I mean, that's good. So did I pass that test?
Yeah, you passed the test.
See, I would be good to flirt with at the bar because I will call you back.
Look, society will tell you you're pressed, you're overbearing, all of these things if you don't follow the rules that society has established, like you just indicated.
Mm-hmm.
Well, watch this. The people who are establishing those rules are married.
Mm-hmm.
They already have a warm body laying next to them at night.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow that advice, guess what? You won't be married.
Right.
So you got to be careful the rules you follow. And 9 times out of 10, they didn't even follow that rule to get that warm body laying next to them. Right.
And a lot of them that have it, they really don't have it, right? Because there's nothing going on under the sheets. So, right? Exactly. And that's what we want to fix here.
You're right.
We got to fix that. So, okay. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So games versus communication in chapter 9. So what's that about?
Games versus community. Look, I'm following you in the book.
See, good job.
That kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. Stop playing games.
Mm-hmm.
If you know that you're interested in somebody, stop playing these little games. Not calling them in a reasonable amount of time, and those kinds of things. You're grown. We gotta recognize that we are grown.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to tell each other what it is you want and be direct about it.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be a guessing game. I shouldn't have to try to figure out what it is you want. Tell me what it is you want. If you realize I'm not getting it, then explain it to me.
Mm-hmm.
But don't expect me to get it, because when you start putting that level of expectation on something and the person's not getting it, then guess what? Guess who's going to be hurt in the long run? You are.
Mm-hmm.
Because instead of just being clear with what it is you want, and not making me play all of these guessing games and trying to figure it out, you're the one that's going to end up getting hurt at the end because I'm not going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
How long does it take you to realize that somebody is not getting it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think people are afraid of communication. I really do. I think that it's like it's a little easier to just kind of roll with the games because that communication is scary. Maybe people really don't want to hear the answer, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So it's just a matter of being brave And this is
Right.
going to help you. I mean, this is going to help you guys, discover the person that you maybe want to be with. I mean, they're out there. Or be able to have somebody for a season, right? And grow from that relationship, right? Because that's really what it's about. And it's just learning to be confident enough to ask the questions and right, be vulnerable, allow yourself to be vulnerable. I think that's what's really scary for a lot of people is our heart gets broken. And one of the things that I tell all my clients is your heart is the only organ that's meant to get broken that will heal and get stronger.
And it will. It will. We just want to protect it to keep it as best we can to keep it from being broken.
Yeah, but you're never going to grow, and you're never going to get stronger and better at communication or experience a deeper love or deeper passion, right? Unless you're willing to, allow that to happen. I mean, it's just inevitable. Our heart gets hurt all the time if we take it personal. And one thing I tell everybody too, when you're out communicating with people, my husband taught me this, which is be a Q-tip. Quit taking it personal, right? Because it doesn't always have to do with you. It could just be the other person. Their response belongs to them. So just be a Q-tip and just see if they're a match for you. All right, running the business, number 10. What does running the business?
Let me go back
real
quick because there are a couple of more nuggets in that chapter that I want to hit real quick.
Yeah.
Women like to play games with, can I just be candid? Women like to play games with the booty.
With the booty, okay.
We like to play games with the booty. It's like, some women believe their stuff is so good that he's not going anywhere, so as long as I'm giving it to him, he's going to keep coming back, kind of like what we're talking about in the very first chapter where men are concerned.
Okay.
But there's some women like you talked about dangling the carrot.
Mm-hmm.
You're dangling the carrot, but you're not sharing the carrot.
Oh.
It's like you're stringing him along.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get into a certain point. But guess what? You have a destination you're trying to get him to, and you might string him along for a while, but guess what? He might decide one day, you know what, that carrot is not worth it, and guess what? He goes no further. So now, what have you gotten out of it?
Mm-hmm.
You played this game, and what have you gotten out of it?
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to start all over again, dangling your carrot in front of somebody else, or your cherry in this case.
Right. So, exactly. Right.
You're playing games. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Stop it.
Well, and I think that, what I've seen, because I see it all over social media all the time, you see it out in public, what people are wearing, and especially the young gals. I mean, they're exposing themselves more and more. And that's all I'm seeing is like booty pictures all the time, right? Women that are already presenting their body and they're saying, it's too bad because I'm all that, so when they're already exposing everything, I mean, be honest, because you're a guy and you're visual, right? That's, you think with two things, right? you got kind of two brains going. What do you guys feel about that? Is that a woman that you're going to respect, or is it just that's going to be a quick roll in the hay and I'm going to be done? Is that someone you bring home, right, to your family?
Okay, you know what? That right there is a catch-22.
Mm-hmm.
That right there is a catch-22. And I say that because if you go to a club
mm-hmm.
or you're out at a social event
mm-hmm.
and women are wearing certain attire,
yep,
that may be slightly revealing,
mm-hmm.
Whether it's cleavage, which is a pretty common one.
Yep.
And guys are observing it.
Yep.
Most people will say she knew exactly what she was doing.
Mm-hmm.
She wore that dress so that she could get some attention.
Mm-hmm.
That's what most people would say,
mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
9 out of 10 women would tell you just the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't wear that dress to get attention. They wore that dress because they thought they looked good in it.
Mm-hmm.
Men, are we supposed to believe that answer, or are we supposed to take that answer as a safe protection type of answer from her?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter.
Right, yeah, right.
It doesn't really matter. she wore the dress. It will always be, believed that she wore that dress because she wanted attention. Bottom line, whatever she said, okay, but no. But okay, so back to your pictures on the internet and what do guys think of that? It's the same thing. Women and men, come on, men do it too. They put provocative pictures on the internet. I'm not going in on the women because, oh man, it will blow my inbox up. It's happened before. I'm not going on the women. Guys do it too. They put provocative pictures on the web and out there on social media and what have you. And they do it for attention. They do it for attention. Both of them do it for attention. How do we feel about it? It depends on who you are. It depends on your character. It depends on your values. Personally, there was a time in my life when I was flipping through it. It looked good to me.
because I did read the quote in your book that you said, "I've been the player and I've been played." So okay.
Look, I am very candid. I'm telling you that there have been and look, I'm not gonna lie. Now I come across a few pictures here and there that are like,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's human nature too, right? I mean,
can I take that home to mama?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like to put that home to mama now because she passed away years ago. But I joke about it, but I love my mama.
She'll haunt you.
I couldn't take a woman dressed that way home to my mama. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
No, she wouldn't make it. She wouldn't make it to the front porch.
Yeah.
She probably get stopped coming out the car. I don't know. Mama wouldn't say that.
Yeah. But I think some women feel that if I have this specific look, I'm going to then attract a man. And I wanted just to hear your view on, how you see it as a man, because there are so many women that I'm seeing doing it. And like you said, there are a ton of men too, because I see them, they got their shirts off, they're posing. And we're human beings. When we look at other people, men or women, we're like, oh wow, they look amazing. They look awesome. And then you always have some people that have another thought like, oh my God, I'm going to hit up that inbox, right? Because they're probably going to give it away quickly. So like you said, it depends on the value. But I think, when I see these posts on both sides, I think, like you said, it goes back to the morals. But I mean, if you're giving away all the cake up front, right? There's nothing left, I guess, when you get to a point of being able to explore and get to know somebody, right? If you just connect on looks.
When you see that stuff and it's like, I want some too.
Right, exactly.
Just being honest. I want some too. You're not concerned about who else is in the picture. I want some too. That looks great. You're in a candy store. You don't care who else is buying M&Ms. You want some of those M&Ms too, right?
Right.
So, but there's a point in your life too where you grow and you get older and you start putting value on stuff, and you start, even the things that look good to you don't look as good as they once did. Because there's a certain level of value attached to that, or lack of value attached to it. And so, and when you start thinking about those things, and you don't do that until you get older, so we can't blame our young kids for being the way they are, because at some point in our lives, we were the same way. Most of us were the same way. And, we just kind of grew out of it. We matured. And I think that's something that comes with maturity. Being able to understand the value that something has or does or lacks.
Yep. All right, go through running the business. Tell us about running the business.
I think the greatest thing in the world is are power couples. People like to say Jay-Z and Beyonce. People like to say the Obamas. People people attach a certain level of respect, if you will, to power couples. They're in that struggle together. They got each other's back, and this whole thing running the business is, whether you're literally running a business together and working together to achieve that common goal, or even if that business just happens to be your marriage. Because I'm not married, never have been, but I know a lot of successful marriages, and they're run like businesses. You got to deal with the finances. You got to deal with the personality issues from time to time. The bills have to be paid. There are a whole bunch of different, dynamics to a marriage that are ultimately run like a business. But at the end of the day, you two are the stakeholders in this investment, and you have to, you have to be on the same accord to run this business and make it successful. When those dynamics start to fall apart and you can't see eye to eye on things, then you know what road you're on.
Right. And I think that all goes back to the disconnect, because so many times people fall in love and they, start to have this great marriage and they start to have a family, and pretty soon, they start to blame, like, oh, I have kids, we never see each other, the finances, all these obstacles that they put blame. But what they don't realize is they didn't stay connected. They didn't keep flirting. They didn't stay, dating, flirting, right, and being a part of each other's lives. They just let everything else take over. And I think that's really huge, because a lot of people could be married and they're not having this, really great wholesome marriage where it's happy, where there's flirting. Because I know in my house, so with my kids, I have two teenagers and kind of a tween, right? He's almost a teenager. And we'll laugh because, I could bend over and you'll know where my husband's eyes are going. And they catch him all the time. He's busted. And they're like, oh my God, that's so gross, Dad. And he's like, what? She's my wife and that's okay for me to do. So I love the fact that even though he's quiet and shy, right? And, they're like, ugh. I love that my daughters get to see that my husband, I still take his breath away, right? If I walk in the room or he's flirting, or maybe he'll grab my butt, or maybe he'll hug me, maybe there'll be a little makeout session that they catch. I'm okay with that, as in our household as a couple, because I want my daughters to see it. I want my son to see that it's okay to also put that value on your wife, also to be able to have that, even though I'm a busy mom with 3 kids, right? And I run a business and, my husband's busy at his job. We never lose sight of each other, no matter what.
Right.
And I think that strength continues to keep everything passionate and moving forward, and being able to look forward to, special time together, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a connect.
And you got to be careful, though. Another part of running that business is simply keeping your business to yourself. You don't go out, people want to run their mouths and tell their girlfriends and their guy friends and, what's going on in their relationship. And people don't realize that that's how the enemy makes his way into your relationship. He finds, once you release that vulnerability into the air and start broadcasting it, he knows exactly how to attack your relationship or your marriage. You open that door, guess who's coming in? He ain't coming in by himself. So you got to be careful. You got to, what goes on in the house stays in the house, and it stays, between the two of you. Even your kids don't need to get involved in that, because kids have a tendency to take sides.
Right.
And what they do. So now you can't. You need to keep your business between the two of you and deal with it. And if you can't deal with it between the two of you, then get professional, unbiased help. But that should not come from your mama and your daddy and your uncle and your aunt and your cousins and your nephews and nieces. That's not where that business belongs.
Right. And you see that happen all the time. People air it out on social media. They're complaining about their spouse. You go out to dinner with your friends, and they're talking amongst each other, right? And spreading the word. And that's tough, and the kids too. I love that you brought up the kids, because so many times children they're so anxious now, and they're so hurt because they, like you said, are pressured to take sides. Whose side should I be on today, right? Who should I be mad at? Nope, he's doing her wrong, or nope, my dad's a jerk. You hear the verbal comments being said about the person you first fell in love with. That's where, for me, it's hard to process when I learn from these families that this couple that loved each other so much could say such horrible, mean things to one another, right? To break each other down. And then these kids are absorbing all of this emotional abuse And it becomes, like you said, the enemy will destroy you tenfold. I mean, it's not going to be a small amount, but you're going to have nothing left.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. He brings friends in with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He comes in for total devastation. He doesn't come in just to wreak havoc. Havoc is already wreaked by the time he gets there.
Yep.
So it's time to do demolition at this point.
Yep. Just waiting for an in. I mean, yep, waiting for an in. So I like that. All right. So the sack don't seal the deal.
Mm-hmm. Simply put, that's not even a long discussion right there. Simply put, just because you sleep with him does not mean he's going to marry you or he's going to make you his woman.
Just because you thought you rocked his world doesn't mean you're getting a ring.
Doesn't mean it. Doesn't mean you're going to get a relationship.
Ah. Yep, that's good. How often do you think that happens? I mean, is that a lot? I mean, I know we talked about people going to clubs and having one-night stands, but is there a lot of men or women, if they have that encounter, do they just assume right away that, all right, we slept together, we're boyfriend and girlfriend, like we're an item, we're a thing?
Well, you know what? I think that happens more to men than it does to women. I think, because men are very emotional and women are very physical. And I know your eyebrows are raising right now because I actually just flipped the script on that one right there.
I'm listening. You perked up my ears.
You were just waiting, right?
I was waiting.
No, it does happen. It does happen. Whether it's a one-night stand or whether it's, a relationship, a friendship, a long-term friendship, it happens because people's emotions get involved. And in most cases, not all cases, in most cases, it's the woman.
Mm-hmm.
And, she starts to feel a certain way. See, here's the thing, and I'll go down this road with this one. Men are always blamed for when things don't go right, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody says, well, you did her wrong, this, that, and the other. And here's the thing. A guy can do, and I've had this conversation so many times, so many discussions, and it still holds true. A man can lay it all on the line. He can say, look, I don't want a relationship. I'm not interested in a relationship. If we do this, we're just doing it. It's, gratifying. It's two people enjoying one another. Nothing more, nothing less, right? Mm-hmm. And 9 times out of 10, he's going to get, I agree. I totally agree with you. Okay. It happens, right?
Yeah.
Next thing you know, feelings are caught up. The person's falling in love. And I'm not going to say him or her, but somebody at some point is going to catch feelings, and it's going to change the complete dynamic of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
But guess who's going to get the blame for it? Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why is the man always blamed even when he still comes correct? Mm-hmm. At the very beginning, he comes correct.
Because didn't you know women are always right? I'm just kidding.
What? That's probably the bottom line. That was a rhetorical question. You weren't supposed to actually answer that.
Yeah, I know. We were born that way, Onyx. We were born that way.
I know. But my point is simple. You got to understand where you are.
Right.
You got to understand that before you go down that road, you're going to get whatever the outcome is. If he falls in love with you, great. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, then great. Mm-hmm. At least you establish that boundary. You're supposed to establish that boundary before you go down that road. Mm-hmm. But at some point you need to. But just realize that is not a guarantee that anything, is going to come out of it.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. All right, stop juicing him up.
Stop juicing him up. If he's lousy, say he's lousy. Stop juicing the guy up. Stop making him think he's the greatest thing since sliced bread. His mama's, he's the kitty to your cat. Don't. Because all you're doing is setting him up for failure, because at some point, somebody's going to bust his bubble. It's better that he crash now before he crashes later. So
don't build him up. Don't tell him he's awesome, right?
No, that's not what I'm talking about. This chapter is talking about Now, hold on. Let me go back. Okay, since you brought that up. Yes, if he is your man, even if he's not your man, if he's somebody you just have a great level of respect for, then of course, compliment him, encourage him, support him, all of these kinds of things, right?
Yep.
You should be doing that to each other. That's a given.
Yep.
But when it comes to sex, if he's a lousy lay, why do you keep going back? Why do you keep making him believe he's the greatest thing in the world, that he's the Latin lover? Why? Stop it. Because his ego is going through the roof, and you're developing a serial lover out of him. Because now everybody's not made for everybody.
Yeah.
Right? If he thinks he's made for everybody, then there's a problem. Somebody has taught him wrong. No. If he's a lousy leg, people say, well, no, I don't want to hurt his ego. Okay? No, if here's your man, and he's lousy in bed, here's the thing, and I get questions on this one.
Yeah.
Educate him. Teach him what it is you like. Show him how you want it to be done. At least get it right for you, right? At least do that. Stop making him think he's doing everything right, and he's not.
Well, I think too.
He's going to have sex at the same time if he's doing it right. No.
Yeah. Well, I think there's something about the male, anyways, that when you tell them what you like, they want to pleasure you. They want you to feel good, right? Because
believe that, Melissa. Women don't believe that. Women believe that if they tell a man or try to show a man how to please them, they're damaging his ego. You're doing more damage to his ego, making him think he's doing it right, because at some point he's going to find out he wasn't doing it right.
Right. Well, and that comes with
more. It's like, you've been faking all this time.
Well, that comes with communication too, and I think it comes with, when you have a partner. I think that's what is so amazing about having somebody as a long-term partner is you get to grow together, right? You're teaching each other, what feels good in all the nooks and crannies of your body. When you grow, the sex is even better, right? I mean, the longer you're together, what is going to make that person, ignite, right? And so, I mean, that's a huge part. I know a lot of people suffer with sexuality because you do have to be in a vulnerable spot, right, Onyx? I mean, when two people are in bed together, right, you are in a vulnerable position. And for the women, it's like their oven needs to get heated up a little bit, right? So they need a little bit of pampering. They need a little bit of, just feeling safe. And I don't know what the guys need. You got to tell me. But like you said, I feel like in my own relationship, I know that when I, guide or say it, I know that my man loves that. I mean, it's awesome. And I'm not afraid to admit that part because I understand that because I've been with them for so long. I mean, that's why it's so awesome. You feel safe.
I think most men would have a problem with a woman telling them. It's all about the approach, too. You don't necessarily have to tell him you're not doing it right. No. That's not what you're going to do. There is a tactful way of letting him know that, okay, I think, honey, you're doing this, you're doing wonderful, but let's try. You don't even have to tell them. You can just say, hey, look, let's change position.
Yeah.
Do something different. You don't have to tell him you're going to do it or why you're going to do it. Just do it.
Right.
He can make you say, oh, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when he can make you say, oh, my God, that's another thing.
Right.
So that's what he wants to get out of you.
Right.
So what you're doing and how you're coaching him is causing that type of reaction. Most men are not going to have a problem because they know that they're doing what it is they're supposed to do.
Right.
If he doesn't care, if all he cares about is making sure he gets here, you're already behind the eight ball.
Right, exactly. You're missing out, girls. You're missing out. Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's
batteries on hand.
Right, exactly. Oh God, yeah, we got to talk about that too. Well, and that's the thing is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, but being in the moment. Because when you can be in the moment with another person, there is power to that. I mean, the passion that ignites. I mean, when you can hear everything, or you can taste everything, or you're in it. together. You're in it to win it, folks. This is what you're in. You're in it to win it, both of you. And so being in that moment and allowing yourself to just be all in, no distractions, no phones, no nothing. I think that is key to being able to feel comfortable to guide each other, right? To guide each other what feels good to both, because the guy can do the same thing as the woman, right? You can both interact and tell each other. I know for those of us that are moms, right? There's been many times where there's been like places that are picked, like where you're laying on a toy or you're staring at a whole pile of kid toys and you're trying to think like, oh my God, he wants it right now and I'm in mom mode. How am I going to change out of mom mode to dirty mode? I mean, it's a real thing, Onyx. It's a real thing, right?
Everybody doesn't want to be called mama or mommy or poppy.
No. Who's your daddy? No. But that's the thing is I think being mindful, both partners, of where you're at and what that person's needs are. So I'm telling you, if you guys have women that are moms and you got toys laying around and we're staring at them, our mind is not going to be on the pleasure. Our mind is on what we have to pick up and all that laundry that's sitting there. So, I mean, I think if you both are mindful and you have a sacred space that is for you, or, go in the backseat of a car, right? Lock your bathroom door. I mean, there's lots of fun spots that you can choose that really grow you.
And for those who are mommies, sex in the laundry room. Just turn the dryer on and make sure some things are in so you get the vibration going on and the whole nine. It can be amazing.
It can be amazing. Okay, that must be from personal experience.
Next question.
Can we get that partner on the phone, Onyx? I got to get that female partner on the phone. Oh, God. But I mean, that's the thing is it's about really just discovering each other and being open to it. I think people miss out on that. And it's such a big part of relationships only because, we're sexual beings. And I think a lot of people, Onyx, get really uncomfortable talking about it. And you shouldn't be. I mean, it can be a very amazing, sacred, beautiful thing, between two people. So it's just about understanding that if you want more out of it, it's communication. It's not setting him up for failure or her.
Yeah. Let them know.
I like that. Okay, so that's what stop juicing him up means. Okay, that's good. How about he's not pursuing you?
Okay, he's not pursuing you. It's simply that. It's telling you that just because he does certain things does not mean he's trying to build a relationship with you. Some people are just a certain way. They're a certain way with everybody. They like to hang out. They like to get to know people. They like to date. They like to, they like to go to dinner. They like to go to the movies. You have to identify what it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Don't assume that because he, takes you to dinner every weekend that, he's pursuing, well, not every weekend, but regularly or something like that you're hanging out with him regularly, and he's pursuing you, that he wants a relationship. Some people just want a companion.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be careful with that. You have to be able to identify what it is you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back, again, no question is off limits. If you start feeling a certain kind of way, ask the question. Don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
If you assume, you're very likely to get your feelings hurt when you finally do discover the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right.
Understand what's going on in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you taking me out so much? I just like spending time with you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had nothing better to do. I mean, whatever is there.
Sorry, click. We ain't calling him back. Yeah, no. Well, and here's the thing. I've known a lot of women too, even with online dating, and they're looking for somebody, right? And they'll say, "Okay, I've been talking to this guy for 3 weeks," and I've said to him, "Okay, should we go out?" And he's like, "Soon." Like she just keeps getting soon, and my response to her was like, "See you later," because he doesn't want anything more than conversation. Right? I mean, 3 weeks and you're not going to go even like meet up in person for coffee, right? You can't just, have small talk conversation. He's obviously hiding from something that he has to hide behind a screen for 3 weeks, right? And I think too, I mean, how often do you think on the male side that you are taking out female friends or companions that you just want to chill and hang out with. I mean, how often do we have to really be concerned about that? Is that a lot?
It depends, because if he's not in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And he just enjoys hanging out, maybe. Okay, let me talk about my case.
I'm listening. I'm all ears.
I don't have a lot of male friends, right?
Okay.
I've never been one to keep a lot of male friends. I've always been comfortable hanging out with the ladies. Now, that's not to say, let me throw some caution in there. That's not to say I was sleeping with all of them,
Okay.
anything like that. But I was comfortable. That's where my comfort zone was. Just like some women don't have a lot of female friends, they're more comfortable hanging out with the guys.
Right.
Because women can be catty and all these different things. That's what they say.
Yep. Right. Right.
I guess it was the same thing for me in reverse, right? So I have a handful of male friends, and most of the time they were too busy. Our schedules didn't gel or whatever. But I could always pick up the phone and call one of my lady friends and say, hey, what are you doing? Nothing, let's hang out. Let's go to the movies. Let's go to dinner. Whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Didn't mean we were dating. Didn't mean we were having sex. We were just hanging out.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, going back to your question, how often? I mean, you really can't put a time or a number on that, because he's single and he really doesn't have a lot going on in that area, and he has the kind of time where he can spend time with his friends. Then it's not unusual for him to pick up the phone and call him. Now, that shouldn't be from 21 to 47. I mean, at some point there should be a break in there, where he's in a relationship with somebody.
Right.
The phone stops ringing it, to hang out anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not unusual. So,
okay.
It's not unusual.
Okay. No, that's good. All right. Play by your own rules.
Yeah. Play by your own rules. Just that. Stop living your life by other people's rules, by what other people are telling you are supposed to do, or acting the way they tell you you're supposed to act, and those kinds of things. And especially in a relationship, don't cater your personality to appeal to him or her. Be who you are. Let them accept you for who you are. If you're the wild and crazy kind of person, then let them see that wild and crazy personality. Don't send your representative. At some point, the real you is going to come out. And if you spend all this time, with them understanding that you're somebody else, and now the real Susie Q comes out, guess what? You're going to have a problem. So it's better to just be who you are up front. If they can't accept you for who you are, then let it ride. They're obviously not the one for you. So play by your own rules. Don't let them dictate your rules to you.
Just be you.
Just be who you are. Be the best you.
Be the best.
Don't be the best who they want you to be. Be the best you.
Yeah. Being authentic, I mean, that's, people are going to read that, and you're going to be able to make a connection with somebody.
Being genuine. A genuine person will attract a genuine person.
I like that.
Yeah. If you're crazy and you want to act crazy, guess what? You're going to attract crazy, and that ain't who you really are. You're going to have some problems.
Yeah, exactly. All right. He wants a strong woman.
Yeah. And it's just that. I mean, that's the last chapter. At the end of the day, he wants a strong one. It's not the last chapter. It's at the end of the book, though. At the end of the day, that's what any man wants. He wants a strong woman. Strong can mean something different to everybody. I can't tell you what your strong is.
Right.
But at the end of the day, whatever that is, whether it's someone who's strong in handling certain aspects of the relationship, or someone who's emotionally strong. At the end of the day, he wants that. Now, but here's a caveat to that, though. You gotta being strong is great, and having someone who is strong is great. But you have to allow that person to not be strong sometimes. You have to allow them to shed a tear. You have to allow them to have a breakdown, when they need it. Because they can't be strong 100% of the time. They shouldn't have to be strong 100% of the time. And so, you got to pick up where their vulnerability is at some point, and be able to carry them when they can't walk on their own, and vice versa. So identify what your strong is in that man or that woman, and move on. Move forward with it.
Right. Because I was thinking, with strength, if you can imagine just like a massive oak tree, right? Somebody really solid, balanced, strong. They need watering too. I think people forget that they need watering, right? They need to be
Yep.
filled up a little bit. They need to be loved on a little bit because, when they go around and they are strong and they are confident, they're just as human at the end of the day as each and every one of us, and just as vulnerable. And they do need that nurturing. They do need to be able to let their guard down, and like you said, to be able to shed some tears and be human, right? And be able to make mistakes and be able to be forgiven, right? Because they're human at the end of the day, right? I mean, it's that's huge. A lot of the guys I was talking to, because I hang around a lot of men. So like my team here at the Whole Body World Men Quarters headquarters is all men, and I love it. I love hanging out with men. They're just really cool. And what I find about men is they're actually very simple beings. They're really
That's
gentle. Yeah, it's like they're not complicated. I think we overcomplicate them, right? They're very simple. Very, very simple.
Let me applaud you because you are the first woman that I've ever heard say that before I did. But you got it, woman. That's the reason you've been married so long.
Do I win a sticker? Do I win a sticker?
You get the trophy.
Yes. Okay. You are gonna mail that, and you're gonna send that in the mail. I'm excited. I'm gonna get one. You guys heard it. He's sending me a trophy for that. But no, that's the thing is, they're very simple, and if you allow them to be simple, and understand that they have just as many insecurities as we do as women, they have just as many faults as we do as women, right? It's easy to be able to stand back and just allow them to be them. Because I think as women, we have this defense up, and maybe that's where you say we're physical, right? Because it's like we have this defense up, and we see you coming, right? Yeah, exactly. We see you coming, and we're ready to rip your balls off. I mean, we're like this defense is what you got, player. What are you going to throw at us? And
exactly.
yeah, and it's hard because again, they're very simple and they're just as vulnerable. And a lot of these guys, they're stuck in these relationships where they start dating somebody, and these women no longer are their lovers or their best friends. They turn into these bossy, right? This is how we're doing things. It's my way or the highway. And that's really, like you said, not what a partnership is. That's not what running a business is together. And I think that's important for everybody to know. And I want you to talk about that a little bit, because I want you to express a little bit about the vulnerability and the simplicity of a man, so that the women that are listening can understand when they go on these blind dates or they interact with a new male, right, that they really shouldn't be threatened, right?
Right.
And take the guard down. So maybe talk about that for a minute.
Okay. It's okay to be cautious, especially when you've been hurt before. It's okay to be cautious to have a certain level of a wall. But I don't know if you watched what was it called, Home Improvement, where the neighbor was always peeking over the wall.
Yep.
Never saw what he looked like.
Wilson.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. That kind of wall is not a good wall. When you're trying to meet somebody and you're trying to, get to know somebody, even when you first meet them, they need to be able to see what you look like. And I don't mean that physically, but I mean they need to be able to see your personality. You need to be genuine. You need to be who you are. Being who you are doesn't mean you have, and you, let me say this, protecting yourself doesn't mean you have to not be yourself. It just means you only allow a certain amount of a person into your space until you're comfortable to allow, they put a toe in. You get a little more comfortable with them. Next thing you know, they got a foot in. And eventually over time, they work their way into your life, but they put in the work to do it. And that's not to say make their job hard, but you understand, you have to be cautious. Women who have been hurt before, they tend to be more. I think early on they're more cautious. Let me say it like this, because I've experienced this. Early on in the game, after they've been hurt, they're more cautious. But I think at some point, that caution causes them to become hard, and And that hardening causes the I don't give a damn attitude.
Mm-hmm.
And next thing you know, they start thinking like a lot of women feel men think.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they have it's all about them. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to make sure they're happy, and they're not really going to care about anybody else. I think a lot of women feel that men are like that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very dangerous place to be, because when a real man comes into her life, it's not all women. Let me say that it's not all women, but you know as well as I do that there are a number of them out there who are like this. And what happens is when that real man who really wants to love her and be a part of her life comes along, she makes his life hell. Mm-hmm. And he hasn't done anything to her. Mm-hmm. But he's the one that has to tear that wall down brick by brick by brick. And some guys just, you hear women say, I'm not his mama, I'm not trying to build up a man and all these kinds of things. He needs to have his stuff together when we meet. It can be frustrating when you have to deal with a person like that, a man or woman, when you got to chip those bricks away. You don't want to spend your life chipping bricks away, spend the first 5 or 10 years of that relationship chipping bricks away. Mm-hmm. You want to start with a clean slate. Mm-hmm. And that's what the next chapter actually gets into. I'll kind of jump ahead, but it all ties in if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, go for it.
The next chapter is the beginning, not the conclusion. Mm-hmm. Every day, your relationship should start over again. Mm-hmm. It's just like day one. Mm-hmm. When you first met, every day should be like day one. You should continuously be trying to get to know that person, because people change. Right. Just because you were like this last year doesn't mean you're going to be like this year. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the biggest reasons, one of the biggest things you hear about when someone divorces. You hear, he changed or she changed. Okay, but you didn't try to keep up with that change. Mm-hmm. You wanted that person to remain the way they were when you first met. And that's not how life is. Mm-hmm. You change jobs. Guess what? Your responsibilities change. Mm-hmm. Right. Change is inevitable in every area of your life. Every day that you wake up, there's going to be some level of change in your life. There should be some level of change in your life. Otherwise, you're living pretty complacent, and you need to do something about that. Mm-hmm. Because life should be exciting. It shouldn't be boring. Right. It shouldn't be complacent. Yep. And nor should your relationships. Mm-hmm. So that's I would say to women, don't complicate a new situation. And you've heard it before, by bringing a whole lot of baggage from your previous situation. Mm-hmm. One has nothing to do with the other. Mm-hmm. You're going to start fresh. Guys, too. And I'm saying this, if any guys listen, this stuff applies to you guys, too. It's not just the women. We're just talking to women tonight, but because we're talking about men. But this applies to guys, too. Mm-hmm. Don't go into a relationship with a whole bunch of mess from your past. She's a new woman, and and people need. Someone actually texted me and said people need time to heal. Mm-hmm. And they do. Yeah. They do. You need time to heal from your past hurts. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So,
well, then you have to allow the other person. Yeah, you have to allow the other person to just be the other person. I did a healing session on somebody the other day, and she had been cheated on, and I reminded her that whatever happened to her wasn't because she wasn't good enough, she wasn't pretty enough. It was something within their self that they had to fulfill. And now that she's in a new relationship, she has to let go of that past so that this new person that's coming in, that she gives them a fresh start, a new opportunity, right? She allows them to be who they are, to offer their gifts or their love, right, to her. And then for her, she has to be able to take her tattered and broken heart, fix it, it's stronger, and love deeper, right? And be able to give a whole heart to this new person so that they get that opportunity to be able to connect with her. Otherwise, you are going into these relationships, both parties, and it's dysfunctional. It's toxic. It's dysfunctional. It's going to come out. It's going to come out later. If it doesn't happen right away, it's going to come out. You're going to start fighting. You're not going to appreciate each other. And I think, too, Onyx, in relationships, people get lazy. They get complacent, like you said.
Mhm.
And it's,
That's it.
you
Yep.
know, I think of like when I first got married, I remember, this is funny. I don't even know how old this aunt was, but I have crazy Italian aunts and I love it. But someone gave me a book on like how to light his fire. And I remember like, you know, I had already been with him for a long time, but I remember reading this book thinking like, oh my God, back then this must have been a trashy, I don't know, housewife book. But I'll tell you what, I learned some good skills from that book. And I remember, you know, thinking that as a partner, I want to make him happy every day. I want to be there when he falls. I want to brush him off. I want to make him feel good. And I want him to have all eyes on me. And so, what I mean by that is there are so many things that you can offer in your relationship. I tell women all the time, your man's taking you out to dinner, tell him at the restaurant, I'm not wearing any panties. Okay? I'll tell you what, the night's going to be hot. Exactly. The night's going to be hot because during that whole night, he's just going to be thinking about you, right?
Didn't Eartha Kitt do that?
I don't know. Who did it?
Didn't she say, Marcus, darling, I'm not wearing any panties?
Yeah. Could have been. I don't know.
But
But
you
you
didn't
know,
go over too well with him knowing that movie.
right, exactly. But you know, that's what I'm saying is that it's about being into each other. It's about going all in and understanding that we really, even though you know we're male and female, we're pretty much the same, and we run almost the same, right? I like that you said guys are emotional, right? Because they really are. I mean, I look at my young son and he's really sensitive. I mean, he's a, you know, he's got his ego masculine, you know, looking at his muscles, you know, those kind of type of things, right? But yet there's this sensitive side to him. And I think if women can learn to tap into that sensitive side, right? And nurture that and build that up, I mean, there's something powerful there.
Here's the thing. We all want the same things in life. Everybody wants to be loved. Everybody wants to love and be loved.
Mm-hmm.
What it is we do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems complicated to men and women. Men seem complicated to women, and women seem complicated to men because we, instead of taking the time to understand what we do the same,
Mm-hmm.
yet different,
Mm-hmm.
we want everybody to do the same thing the same way.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to hear "I love you" all the time. Okay, guess what? Maybe that's not his love language. Maybe his love language is gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he gives you stuff all the time to show you that he loves you. Because you know, that would be. I would recommend that that your listeners and viewers take, if they haven't taken the love language test, go online and take it, and find out what your love language is. You know, find out what it is you need. And if you're in a relationship, do it together. Find out what each other's love languages are, because if she's the kind of person that she wants affirmation. She wants to hear all the time how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not a communicator, as a lot of men tend not to be, you know, but yet you're a giver. You do things to show her that you love her. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great, but you're not. Do you expect her to conform to how you want to show her you love her? Mm-hmm. Or is she expecting you to do the same? Mm-hmm. Once you understand how a person is loved, how they want to be loved, when you start meeting that expectation or that desire, I'll say, then that's when things change, because that's where they are. Mm-hmm. If she needs to hear it, say it. Mm-hmm. Don't give her something. Say it. Well, you know what? You got a house full of stuff. And you done spent $1 million, and you didn't have to spend any of it. All she wanted to do was hear you say it from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, to understand each other's love languages. That's important. Understand your own before you even get into a relationship. Mm-hmm. But understand that. It's very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. And, you know, one thing I always tell everybody, too, is, listen, there's not anyone, this goes for men and women, that could ever make you feel loved enough. There's not anyone in this world that could ever make you feel beautiful or handsome enough. And there's not anyone in this world that could ever make you feel like you are enough. That has to come from you internally. That has to be your own soul communication. Like you have to fall in love with yourself so that you can have a full cup to fall in love with somebody else.
Right. Right. And like you said, men are not complicated. We're emotional. We're sensitive. We've just been taught to express it differently.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my son, when he was young, he would cry, but he didn't want anybody to see him cry.
Mm-hmm.
He would run. He would get under a table or something. He did not want you to see him crying.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I think Michael Basin wrote a book called Men Cry in the Dark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I haven't read the book, but I can only imagine what it's talking about.
Right.
You know, but it's true, man. We don't necessarily show our emotions or wear our emotions on our sleeve, but just because we're not showing it, just because we're not showing you that you hurt our feelings by something you said or did, doesn't mean it's not tearing us apart on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
So don't think your man is so hard that nothing bothers him. You know, it's just unfortunately he'll show it a different way,
Mm-hmm.
and you know and you may not be ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Communicate.
I love it. This was awesome because I think it's going to be so helpful for so many women to just get some information about how to build a new relationship and kind of how to be able to maybe start dating again or be able to build that strong business or empire with their current marriage, because you can rediscover love all over again. I don't care if you've been married for 60, 70 years. I mean, you can have a do-over, right? And you can make it, every day, and you can make it awesome. And that's huge. I mean, make sure you put value on yourself so you can put value on somebody else. So, Onyx, how can everybody that's listening, because I know they're going to want more information because we were just kind of dangling the carrot with these guys, right? Is the cherry on, exactly, dangling the carrot, the cherry on top, chocolate and vanilla, he's still a man. How can these guys get your book?
The book is available on Amazon. I know the first book is available. I've had some problems with the second book, people being able to order the second book.
Okay.
So I got to work through that and get that out there, make sure it's working properly. But in the meantime, people can definitely hit me on Facebook. I'm maxed out on my friends, but you can definitely send me an inbox if you're interested in the book. I can autograph the books. I can send them out. You can pay via PayPal if for some reason Amazon's not working or whatever. But yeah, just hit me up, man. I get people always sending me questions in my inbox, and I try to answer them as best I can. I try to get to all of them as much as I can. But it's all about helping people, helping them, have better relationships if they're in one. And now let's be clear though, and this is a whole other topic. I'm gonna drop this and then we'll stop. It's not meant for everybody to be in a relationship or to be married. Some people are better by themselves, and the sooner you realize that, the better it's going to be for everybody. Because rather than run around breaking hearts and hurting people because you're not ready to be or shouldn't be in a relationship, acknowledge that, hey, I need other things to keep me busy. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I think I'm that way. But I love the idea of marriage and all of that good stuff. But you got to recognize, is that you? Before you get into another relationship, ask yourself, is that something I really want? My last couple of relationships didn't work out. My last several relationships didn't work out. Who's the common denominator here? Right. So you got to recognize that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, and I think too, when you have a revolving door with relationships, sometimes it gets exhausting. And right, it gets exhausting because you feel like, okay, what did I do wrong? You start to ask all these questions. What could I have done better? Which are all awesome growth lessons, but I think people get tired from it. And so at the end of the day, I always tell people to attract the right mate. You are on a specific level. You're sending out, your own vibration, your own passion, right? Because you're a very passionate person. And so you have to find a powerhouse woman, and it's finding a woman that is not broken, is not struggling, is not bringing baggage to the relationship, because that's probably why yours, play leapfrog so much. It's finding the ones that are not bringing the baggage to you, so that you can feel safe and comfortable enough to be able to start having those questions and connect your hearts together.
And you know what? It's hard, though. Truth be told, it's hard to find somebody who doesn't have some baggage or something that they're carrying along.
Yeah.
Because they look great on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But I think after a while, if you've done it enough,
Mm-hmm.
you start to recognize the people, with luggage, the people that just got off the train. You start recognizing. So,
right.
And then you really kind of shy away from them, and
right.
You almost become a recluse because you just don't want to deal with it anymore.
Yeah. Well, and that goes into trying to choose somebody completely different that you would ever think. A lot of people have these expectations. This is the one kind I like, right? This is what I like them to look like, what I like to be. It's kind of funny because honestly, it's usually completely opposite of what you'd ever think.
Mm-hmm.
Completely opposite.
I know some people who marry total opposites of what they ever anticipated.
Right. Right. And so same with you. I just think a lot of people, like you said, are like you said, they're carrying around their baggage. And they've all been hurt. And I think if everybody can learn to set that aside and say, okay, this was a learning lesson. Yes, this was painful, but it made me stronger. It made me better. It made me come up with better questions to ask. It made me realize that whatever they were going through had nothing to do with me. It had nothing to do with me. It was something that they were a product of their product. Maybe they saw a marriage within their house, right? That was dysfunctional. And when people see that, they assume that that's healthy and normal. So it really is about deciding, like you said, what are your boundaries? What are your personal wants or needs? And be available and be open to change, be open to, the what if or the new opportunities that might present themselves to you. So, right? So Onyx did say he was single, ladies, and I am his wing woman. Right? Did you say that? Did you announce that? But I'm a good wing woman. I'm a really good wing woman. But you have to get through me to get to Onyx. You got to get through me. And I'm checking the suitcases. Right?
No explosives, none of those kinds of devices.
None. No. Yeah, no, so this was so awesome. I am so glad that you joined me tonight. And, for those of you guys listening, I hit it off right away with Onyx. I mean, he is just really awesome. And I know that I am going to be putting together and convincing him to do an event with me. So him and I both can, be present for both men and women, for couples. So everybody kind of learns how to work together, right? And that we can really kind of help empower and build some really strong, healthy relationships. I think that would be really fun, right?
I agree. I think it would be awesome.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to my trophy. I'm going to think he might send me an autographed book, and I'll be waiting for that. Say something nice. And if you guys have any problems finding the book, please go ahead and inbox me too. You guys can send me something on one of my Facebook pages and or our website, and I will make sure to connect you to Onyx. And I'll also put his link down here on the podcast so that they can reach you as well. So any final words?
Yeah, actually, go to the Facebook page and the Facebook group also, the Cherry on Top Conversations. With one of them, and then we have He's Still a Man, which is one of the pages. We're actually getting ready to start shooting a web series called He's Still a Man, and it's going to be a series of episodes or a bunch of episodes of that relate to different topics in the book. Whole lot more than what's in the book. I mean, we're not doing chapter by chapter. It's actually a complete storyline that follows the characters through different relationship scenarios that they come into. So it's real life stuff, and it's going to be awesome. So we're wrapping up the first round of casting right now, and we'll start shooting hopefully in July. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, congratulations. That's awesome. I'll be tuning in.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have a lot of girlfriends to help. I'll be tuning in.
Okay, well, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope you
absolutely.
in one of the episodes.
Yeah, would love to. Absolutely. Well, thanks again for being on. I appreciate you. You guys connect with Onyx or hit the link below and stay tuned because there's just a lot for both sides for the men and women to be able to grow and start having really healthy relationships together. So I hope you have an awesome night. Thanks, Onyx.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, take care, hon.
Everybody.